Please welcome journalist Melissa Francis. Melissa, you and I worked together at the Fox News channel for quite some time, and yet we never talked about Israel.
Yeah.
Something happened inside of you that's made you want to go to Israel and find out what really was going on there. And I want you to tell the story. What was it that just woke up in you and said, go to Israel, get the truth?
Very good friend of mine, Leila Wasserman, who's here and worked on the movie with me, was hosting events in New York to really tell people and bring people from Israel, wounded soldiers, to tell about what happened and what happened to them. And I was at one of these events, and a soldier said, "Thank you so much for coming." Why are you thanking me? I stopped by on my way home from work. And she said, "We kind of feel like, does anyone see what just happened to us? Is anyone watching?" And it struck me that this is the gift that I have, is making people feel seen. And I thought I could go and hear her story and hear others. And I started watching the coverage. And whether you watch NBC or Fox or whatever, they were totally different stories, like a different planet.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if I went and tried to just find the truth as the messenger? What if I just went as somebody, I'm not Jewish, I'm not Muslim. I worked for NBC, I worked for Fox. I'm a truth teller. I'm just gonna go see what everyone has to say and what really happened. And it was an amazing journey. I just had a calling to go. And I said to my husband when I got home that night, I had this really crazy idea. Like, I just want to go to Israel and make this documentary. And he said, go now. And I was shocked because I thought he would say, that's crazy, there's a war on.
But I mean, it's interesting because it wasn't like you had been many, many times. You didn't have a predetermined opinion of what you were going to see. And I think that's what makes this film so very powerful.
So that part for me as a journalist and a filmmaker was so incredibly inspirational and liberating. I landed alone. I had not prepared very much. I was picking up a photographer when I got there. My friend Leila is from Israel. She connected me with some people, but we had a really, we had a loose plan of what we were going to do.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I knew I may end up, sorry, Leila, really alienating this friend. Like, if I find things that don't go along with one side or the other, I'm going to report what I find. I'm going to find the evidence.
Because, Melissa, there were many people saying that Israel was committing genocide.
Right.
That they were just wholesale murdering people in Gaza on purpose and intentionally killing civilians, and that it was genocide, it was a war crime. So you have that, at least in your mind, and you have to think, what if I find out that's true?
That's exactly right. And in fact, when I left, the UN had said, here is the evidence. Yes, Israel is committing genocide. So I thought, I got my work cut out for me because, both sides are saying this. The UN has said this. So I said, I'm going to go. One thing I want to do is I want to find those trucks. People are talking about the trucks. All of this food, all of this water. I mean, you know the number, tons and tons that's going in. Yet people are starving. We see videos of people inside Gaza starving, hungry. So a couple days, we asked the IDF, we went around, we were looking for these trucks. This incredible group of soldiers, they're actually, they're reservists. Aries Eshel, he's with NPRAT Leadership Academy. He's there, they're on the front line. So they have jobs during the day, and then they go fight. They go back in. So he came and picked us up, and he said, let's go into the Gaza envelope. Not really supposed to do that.
Yeah.
We went racing out there early in the morning, found a truck, and that was the clip that you just saw. And I said, I need to touch the food, I need to confirm it, and I need to watch it go in. And how much more evidence do you need?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I found. The food's there, it's going in, and then you see in the video on the other side, Hamas takes it. And they're starving the people. So I don't know how the UN can then charge Israel with genocide, but
they find a way to do it. And I think it's so powerful. And I've seen the entire film, which, by the way, I highly recommend, because you got footage that was taken by the actual terrorists from Hamas who went from Gaza into the kibbutz and murdered Jewish civilians in the most horrific way. You took their own footage. It wasn't like you were hearing somebody tell you what they did.
Right.
This is what they did, and they recorded it because they were proud of it.
I think one of the most compelling things I would say to everyone about the movie is that it is the one film that is undisputed by both Hamas and Israel. So if you watch this, no matter what idea you come in with, you know that everyone agrees that what is in our movie is true. The Palestinians say, yes, this is what we did. This was a plan. They're calling. We have, all these recordings that they've uploaded saying, Dad, I think a lot of people have seen that one. Dad, I'm here. I just killed 6 Jews. Aren't you so proud? The blood is on my hands. And they're on WhatsApp showing videos. And these are all things that everyone there knows, as you know. But here in America, it's a completely different story.
One of the things that I was so impressed with, Melissa, you didn't just talk to Israelis, you talked to Palestinians. Yeah. So what was the experience of talking to the people on the other side of this whole war and getting their perspective?
Well, as you know, Israel's divided up, and there are certain places that some can go and others can't. The crew that I was with, the photographer, they were Jewish or Israeli. So I had to walk alone into Area A and B. One is mixed, and Area A is controlled entirely by the Palestinian Authority. And I walked in on my own because I thought I can't leave without getting the other perspective. I have to talk to the other people. And I'm walking down the street, and it's completely silent. I can feel eyes on me from all different angles. I would approach a home, and first the children would come out, and I would say, hi, I'm an American, I'm a reporter. I'm just asking people, how are you? What is the world missing about your story? No penetrating, judgmental questions. It's just, how are you? Next, the women would come out, and they would kind of talk to me. And if I was not dangerous and didn't hurt anyone, pretty soon, the man of the house would come out. And it struck me as so different from the approach in the West, where the man protects the family. He's the first to go see the person that looks threatening. Completely different situation. But in one house, I went in, and, she said, this is terrible. We're occupied. This is a hospital, and we have medicine. We can't get to our patients. Come in, look, we use these tunnels that are going under. I won't call it the West Bank because I know we were near Hebron. They said, look, there's tunnels here. And as I came in, they closed the gate behind me, and I gulped for a moment. Now I'm locked in. The man came out, and he, you see it's freeze frame on the tape because at this point I'm out of range of the camera. All I have is my phone recording the audio. And, he really said, I wish I were in Gaza. In Gaza, they're free. I'm like, I don't know about that. Have you seen Gaza lately? And said, it's been worth it because we've landed in America. We're on the American campuses, and American kids understand that we are right.
And they were out chanting, these students, from the river to the sea, which means from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean, which, if that were the case, Israel would be annihilated, obliterated. There would be no Israel at all. And that was the chant that these American kids were saying on campuses and not having a clue what they're even saying.
Absolutely. And he was happy to say, we hate Israel, but we're really coming for you. Yeah. That they're sort of the appetizer and you're the main course.
They made that very clear to you as an American.
Very clear. And not even, they said, not all Americans are bad. We like the kids on the campus, but we're coming for all the rest of you. All the soldiers that we show in this story, they're all graduates of the NPRAT Leadership Institute, where they teach young people about faith, about God, about purpose, and about strength, the sanctity of life, the importance of keeping yourself strong, of family, the exact opposite of what the other side I spoke to. Like, it's so clear, like you said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's why I called it Revelation. Because I really felt like, I am going to write what happened, what is happening now, and what's coming. And it feels like the end of times when you are there. And I have a calling now, I believe, to really spread this message of what Israel's doing for the rest of the world to save Western civilization.